Yo, what's up guys, Gray here, and today we have got our draft analysis for the UPA, a brand new Wi-Fi draft league commissioned by my good pals Lieutenant Gold and JB Westside. And this will be going along the exact same time as the BBR. I believe it's the same amount of weeks. I could be wrong, I think they're both 12 weeks. But the UPA is slightly different to the BBR in that it is allowing Gigantamax Pokemon. And on top of that, there is no restrictions to the Dynamax either. So whatever Gmax we draft, we can have any item. We don't have to Gmax first turn or anything like that. So yeah, those things are about to be broken, and we're gonna have to deal with we're gonna draft a real good team to be able to deal with those sort of things. But before we get into the team we drafted, make sure to go and check out all the coaches. Their links will be down in the description below. I really don't know too many people in this league, but since chatting and starting to know some people, they all seem like really great guys, so make sure to go down and subscribe to all of their channels because they're all great content creators and deserve the love. So without further ado, let's get into our team. And we were 8th out of 18 coaches. 18 is a really weird number in my opinion. I've never seen a league with 18 coaches, but you know, whatever. 8th is alright, I guess. It's pretty much in the middle, like slap bang in the middle, but we were close enough to the front that we could actually pick up something pretty decent. And since there was Gigantamax mons and I don't know, there was a few things that were broken, I felt like there was a good chance I'd be able to pick up something really, really good with the first pick. And we were able to pick up Urshifu Single Strike with our first pick. This is something that I wanted to draft since it came out, but I've never had a good enough draft pick to actually be able to pick it up, except for in one league. So actually in BBR last season I wanted to pick it up, but it went with the third pick, I want to say, of the draft, or the second pick of the draft. So I picked up Executor instead, as you do, you know, basically a like for like draft. Also in PTL I picked up Tapu Koko instead of Urshifu. I don't think Urshifu went. I think I might have actually been second in that draft, and I picked up Koko because I wanted to use it, and it was terrible. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't as good as I wanted it to be, and I probably could have done better with something a little bit stronger. But yeah, we finally get to pick up Urshifu, and this thing is an absolute beast. One of the best wall breakers in the game. With Wicked Blow, it's able to crit with every hit, regardless, except for their ability is Battle Armor. Excuse me, Battle Armor, or I think Shell Armor does the same thing. I'm pretty sure they're the same ability. Unseen Fist means that they can't protect, so you're always going to be able to deal out damage unless they're going for sub, but I guess that's damage. Yeah, this thing hits really hard. Fighting Dark is super nice stabs to have. It hits a lot of things that resist the other type, but on top of that it gets access to things like Sucker Punch, which gives it priority, U-turn for switch initiative, and it also gets tons of coverage. It's a fighting type, so it gets all the punches, it gets access to Facade. If it would be that guy, we can run like a sub-focus punch set. I actually kind of want to run that at some point because I think that would be a lot of fun. Access to Iron Head and Poison Jab for the fairies, things like Stone Edge for flying types as well. So it's definitely got enough coverage to be able to kind of deal with its own counters, and it's a fantastic Scarf option. It's a good kind of sub bulk up set, or just regular bulk up 3 attacks, anything like that. It's a really, really strong mon. Base attack being 130 and a decent speed tier at 97 as well. This is a really nice place for me to kind of start my draft, and I'll be honest, I really wasn't too worried what Gmax I got. So I was happy to kind of wait and then pick up something that either I really wanted, like I felt synergized really well with my team, or just pick up something for a lower tier so I can draft a stronger team. And I was never really interested in that tier 1 Gigantamax tier because it just took 40 points away from you, and I feel like having a strong team is much better than having a strong Gigantamax, especially considering they can hold items. Pretty much anything that's good, so not Eevee or Meowth pretty much, is going to be pretty good, and you can kind of run it to be as threatening as you want because Gigantamax is broken anyway. So yeah, I wasn't too worried, so I thought whatever comes around I'll just pick up the best tier 1 that's still available. At this point I was planning to either get a tier 2 or tier 3 Gmax. I was on what I thought was a tier 3 Gmax, but turned out to be tier 2. But I was looking at a tier 3 one at the time, and I was like, okay, so I've got plenty of points, I can pick up a tier 1, and somehow, some way, Zeraora made its way back to me. And Zeraora is, much like Urshifu, one of the most terrifying mons to face in Draft League. Its speed tier is so good that you can half the time run Adamant, or I guess Modest if you're running a special set. Its base 112 attack doesn't seem amazing, but considering you can run Adamant, it kind of boosts it up to a point where it's actually really, really good. Plasma Fist is a super spammable stab move, base 100 power with 100% accuracy. It also gets tons of coverage, so electric types in this gen got a massive nerf by not being able to run Hidden Power Ice, but honestly it doesn't affect Zeraora at all. It gets access to things like Blaze Kick, Close Combat, Play Rough, gets Grass Knot if you want to run a special set, Outrage, you never know when that can come in handy, Knockoff as well. There's just plenty of moves that it gets that means that honestly it doesn't really care too much that it loses Hidden Power Ice, because that was just kind of nice for things like Gliscor and Garchomp. But even then, it still has the Fairy type move for Dragon types. It has like Close Combat that deals a lot of damage to most ground types. So it's really not missing out too much. If this thing was electric fighting, that'd be kind of nuts. I think it should be, but yeah, it's still a great mon with that fantastic speed tier. It's also bulky enough that it tends to be able to take a couple of hits as well. Not that I really want it to. It really just kind of here as sort of a late game sweeper. Also can be a wall breaker as well. Also a great offensive pivot with access to Volt Switch. Also is one of the freer toxics in the game, because they don't tend to switch in a steel type or a poison type into a Zeraora, because it will still take a ton of damage. So yeah, I guess a pretty good chance to get off a toxic. Outside of that, you can run Bulk Up, you can run Calm Mind if you're looking for a special set. Its special move pool isn't as diverse, but still usable. But Bulk Up sets can be really, really threatening. Agility you just never need because you're going to be outspeeding everything anyway. Access to things like Fake Out as well could be an interesting niche for it. It's, depending on the week really, whether we need it. It does have some priority in Quick Attack, but honestly with that speed stat you don't need it. Also a really fast Taunter, which is always nice to have. So yeah, we picked up two very threatening things with our first two picks. And like Shay said in the draft stream, yes, I am recording this after the draft stream. I tend to like to draft like two offensive things and then two bulky things, just to kind of make sure that I've got a decent core to begin with. So yeah, we begin our defensive core with Tangrowth, and anyone knows me, they know I love this mon. It is my team mascot, and yeah, I'm really happy to have drafted it again. Tangrowth is not as good this gen, arguably, as it was in the last gen. There's probably more things that can break it this gen than there was last. Also, it does get hurt a little bit by not being able to run something like Hidden Power Fire to be able to hit certain steel types, but honestly, Tangrowth has so much coverage, it doesn't tend to matter anyway. It's got a massive defense stat with a very, very good HP stat as well. But also, its offensive stats are very, very solid for a defensive mon. Plus its Regenerator, and Regenerator is just a broken ability as it is. It gets access to, obviously, lots of grass stabs, but access to things like Knockoff, Earthquake, you got Focus Blast and Sludge Wave on the special side, as well as things like Poison Jab and Rock Slide on the physical. Tons of utility moves such as Stun Spore, Sleep Powder, Leech Seed. You can run Morning Sun if we ever run up against like a Sun team. I don't think we'll be bringing Tangrowth against that, but you never know, maybe it has a good matchup. Ancient Power for the boosts, obviously, I'm going to get them 100% of the time. No, I never get them. I literally never get boosts with Ancient Power. My time in random battles has not really done me too well with that. Also, this is a really solid offensive mon. If we come up against certain teams that really struggle with an offensive grass type, it absolutely could be run either Choice Banded or Choice Specs and put in work. I got 4 kills with an offensive Tangrowth in PTL one season, and that was against a very good coach as well. It was against D-Train. If anyone knows who he is very good, or was very good. We miss him. He retired to become what seems like a political advisor on Twitter. I don't think he is, but all he ever talks about is politics. So I guess he's happy, so yeah, all for him. But I'm getting off topic. This is a really, really good mon. Super defensive, can be physically defensive with the defense it's just generally got, but also you can run it Assault Vest with like max Spadef because it needs it. It's only base 50 Spadef, and it can actually be really, really specially bulky as well. And Regenerator means you get your health back every time, so you're not really losing too much from being assault vest as you would if you were anything else. And of course, Showdown decides to disconnect. So I will be right back so I don't show all my teams. Okay, so we're back, and my next pick is on the screen. It was Swampert. Swampert is really strong this gen, and this thing was in tier 3. So I couldn't turn this away. I drafted it maybe a little early, people would say, but this gets access to flip turn this gen, which is amazing. And also the removal of hidden power means that it's much safer to switch into. It got very good bulk, like on both sides. 100 HP is really solid to begin with. Base 90 defense and 90 super def means that it's able to run either physically defensive or specially defensive. One base 10 attack, you can actually run like a choice band set as well. Flip turn means that it can be a really good pivot, be it offensively or defensively. Access to things like bulk up this gen as well means that it has potential setup. Also has access to curse should I decide to run that maybe against like a trick room team. Outside of that, it gets access to Scold if I want to get the burns. Its special attack is like, it's not bad. It's not the same as an attack, but it's certainly usable. Ice coverage, rock coverage, ground coverage, water coverage, as to be expected from Swampert, effectively. It also gets access to outrage, just for the unstabbed dragon coverage kill, of course. Seismic toss could be an option if I'm not able to do enough damage, but with base 110 attack, you tend to be able to do enough. Sludge wave for any 4 times weak to poison mons, it could be nice just as a random coverage move. Stealth Rock is very free on Swampert this gen. It's actually my first rocker on the team, and one of my very few. I don't think I have too many on this team, but I just want to pick up a couple of really like solid hazard setters and just kind of roll with that. And Swampert is very much one of the freest stealth rockers in the game. With his ability to be able to pivot out afterwards as well is amazing. Access to Raw as well means that it can't particularly be set up on, even though it's quite offensive. Sometimes it can be set up fodder, but yeah, having access to a phasing move is really nice. Toxic is phenomenal on this. You see it a lot in OU at the moment, as this thing is like, I think when I'm recording it was like the 15th in usage in OU, and it was tier 3. So yeah, very good mon for a very good budget pick in my opinion. And then I actually picked up my Gmax on my next turn, and it was not, so I went into picking up this Gmax thinking it was in tier 3, and it turns out it was in tier 2, and so I ended up trading it away after the draft finished, like immediately after I put in 3 trades. I actually picked up Send Scorch Gmax initially, but since it was in tier 2, I actually felt like I was really pressured into running heavy duty boots on that every week, and I wanted a Gigantamax that really had a freedom of item, could run whatever it wanted and try and get some value out of it. So instead I decided to pick up Duraludon Gmax, and I initially had Deblade and Druddigon on his team, and I looked at it and I was like, I can get so much more value out of my Dragon Steel by picking up it in 1. Duraludon was still on the board, so I was like, you know what, I've never used it before, it seems like an interesting mon to use, and just went ahead and picked it up. And one of the nice things about the Gmax is that it can use its Steel type move. So its Gmax move is Gmax Depletion, which I believe removes PP, whether it's all of its PP, I'm not entirely sure, but it removes like PP from a move that was used before, and that can be nice, especially on like a Draco Meteor. It's still going to hit really hard, but I can run Flash Cannon and raise my defense, which means that I'm harder to take down, and also I can run Body Press. So for those who don't know, that Steel type boosts your defense stat by 1 stage every time it's used, and by the time I come out my Gmax, I could have +3 defense, and Body Press can do so much damage against things that don't resist it. And honestly, like, there's not a lot of things that want to switch into both my stabs and resist Body Press, so I felt like it was a really nice like sort of mon to pick up. It's got a very nice niche, and I think it'd be really good on this team. It also has good coverage options in terms of, like, I say really good, it has all right coverage options in Dark Pulse that lowers the opponent's special, the Gmax or Dynamax move lowers the special defense of the opponent, which is really nice because this is primarily a special attacker. Also gets access to Thunderbolt, which is just going to be really nice to hit any bulky waters that would initially be able to check me quite well. Setting up the Electric Terrain for a second hit is also going to be dealing even more damage. We also have access to Swords Dance should we run a physical one. Its physical move pool actually has a little bit more diversity, but honestly actually it's probably about the same. It's just its attack stat is only base 95, which is definitely usable, but we'd have to get that Swords Dance up first and then probably Gmax on the second turn. We could also use Iron Defense Body Breast should we want to, but I feel like using the Steel type move is more beneficial. We also get dual screens, which I didn't actually realise until I just seen it on the screen right now. Yeah, we get dual screens out of my Gmax mon, so we can set up both screens and then Gmax if we want to, take advantage of our own screens. Stealth Rock is also an option should I want to run it. It also gives me max guard for any situations that I would want to use that. Also has a nice niche and it learns Thunder Wave, which honestly my team really appreciates Thunder Wave. It never wants to be outsped particularly. So yeah, Duraludon just fits the bill really nicely. Certainly better than Center Scorch. I did like Center Scorch's typing. I was able to pick up something later in the draft that kind of worked as well, if not better. Next up we picked up Gardevoir, another tier 3 I believe this was, and Gardevoir is honestly still at tier 3, but it's like not good enough for tier 2 in my opinion. So yeah, really happy to pick up Gardevoir, something I've wanted to draft for a long time. Really strong special attacker, which my team was kind of lacking, especially considering I had Center Scorch before this. Basically had all physical attackers, so I really needed the special attack. And Gardevoir has a really nice combination, especially with Duraludon. Duraludon really baits in like the fighting types, and Gardevoir is ×4 resistant to it. Albeit its defense isn't amazing, it's not going to be able to take the hits particularly well, but because it ×4 resists it, it will be able to take a hit. Alright, it will take it reasonably well. Trace can be a really nice ability to have, just on the off chance like you can get Sheer Force or you can get like Regenerator, something like that. Always nice to have Trace. You can also get things like Volt Absorb from certain mons. Granted, we probably want like Volt Absorb from like Zeraora if we were facing it, but we have Zeraora, so we can trace abilities and be able to kind of work around things like, I don't know, Vaporeon off the top of my head, like Water Absorb mons, Flash Fire mons, stuff like that. Access to Carmine for setup, gets Destiny Bond for a Scarf option is quite nice. Also for a Scarf option it gets Healing Wish. It's my first Cleric I believe with Heal Bell as well. Access to things like Knockoff as a utility option is always like, it's never expected on a Gardevoir. So it's really nice. It gets Mystical Fire this gen, so it can hit Steel types for very good damage in fact. Also very good for lowering a special attack, just in case like you're up against something that has a better special attack than you and you're going to lose that 1v1. You're able to actually lower a special attack and maybe have a chance. Shadow Sneak is an interesting option. It has what, like base 40, so base 65. That's actually better than I thought. Base 65 attack. I don't know, maybe it will be helpful. Memento is a nice utility option. Again, it gets dual screens, so we can potentially run a Light Clay dual screens variant. Outside of that, it's got nice coverage. It gets Triple Axle. Why does this get Triple Axle? I'm so confused. It gets utility options in Will-O-Wisp. It gets Wish, could be a Wish Passer. Trick Room and Trick, just in case we want to run like a slower team and maybe want to run Trick Room. Trick is really nice if we run like a Flame Orb or something like that. I don't know. Off the top of my head, we can choice Scarf like slow bulky mons, or we can give choice specs to something that doesn't want it. T-Wave, again, we've got another option for that. It gets Taunt, which is going to be a fast Taunt. Teleport, really good if you know you're going to predict switches and be able to get things in, like, for example, if they bring in a Steel type, then I can get my Zeraora or my Urshifu in for free, and that could be really nice. Just a really strong mon that I think is a big benefit to my team. It gives me so much utility, as well as that really good special attack stat for any kind of like choice Scarf or choice spec set. Next up, we actually picked up Druddigon, I believe, with this pick, but since we traded it, it's actually Colossal. Colossal was my like exchange fire type for Center Scorch. It's not quite the same as a Gmax Center Scorch by any means, but I actually felt like it gave me more for this team than Center Scorch did. So prior to picking this up, I actually had one form of removal, and that's just like not enough. Like, your teams are going to run all the hazards against you if you don't have any removal. So picked up Colossal. It gives me Rapid Spin, it gives me Spikes and Stealth Rock, which is just amazing, as well as another bulky mon. Access to things like Will-O-Wisp can be really nice as well. It gets good coverage with Scald and Scorching Sands on the special side. Moves like Iron Head, potentially want to run like Explosion. Why not? Body Press is really good coming off of that base 120 defense stat. As well as, like, we have 3 really usable abilities. Steam Engine, if we predict a fire type move, we can switch it in and get to +6 speed and just be really, really speedy. If we're able to live a water type move, then maybe we can run like a weakness policy Steam Engine set and just sweep. Flame Body is really nice for anything that's really dangerous on the physical side. We might be able to switch in and get a burn. Flash Fire, obviously really nice for any fire types. But yeah, it's just a really bulky mon. Doesn't give me too much utility outside of like Rapid Spin. Does it get light screen? It doesn't get light screen, so it just gets Reflect. Like, you can run single screen potentially. Good Hazard Stacker and Rapid Spin all in one, and actually a really good defensive typing, especially with my team. I feel like it synergizes really nicely, and we don't particularly care too much about ground types. I think we care a little bit actually, but we certainly don't care too much about water types. So yeah, Colossal I think is a really nice pickup. I've used it before, it was a ton of fun, and I'm excited to use it again. Next up we got Quillfish. Quillfish is something I've used actually more than any other mon, potentially. I think it may be the most used mon I've ever had. Really nice hazard stacker. Again, I've got spikes, I've got T-spikes with this. Intimidate is really, really handy, especially against like things like Cinderace. It's able to take those hits just fine. It doesn't care too much about Electro Ball because it's quite quick. Its other abilities aren't too bad. Swift Swim, if we come up against a rain team, could be useful. And Poison Point, just in case you want poisons, I guess that's an entirely valid option. It does give me priority in Aqua Jet. Things like Destiny Bond could be really handy as well, and Haze is a good utility option. Pain Split is always really nice on a mon with a relatively low HP stat like this has. Outside of that, you're going to be running pretty much just like dual hazards. It gets Thunder Wave, which is really nice for a water type. Toxic is not going to miss, which for me is amazing. If I can not miss a Toxic, then that's ideal. Outside of that, it gets access to like very limited attacking opportunities. It does get Steel Roller for some reason. Like, I'm not entirely sure why it gets Steel Roller. Like, who knows? Walrein gets it, I'm pretty sure, as well. So maybe they're just throwing it out for free. Access to Throat Chop as well. I think that could be quite nice for things that learn like Hyper Voice or Boom Burst, or yeah, just any kind of like sound-based Pokemon that could be really useful for. Outside of that, you're probably going to be running Poison Jab, Liquidation, maybe Aqua Jet. That's pretty much as much you're going to see in terms of offensive moves, but honestly, Quillfish is mainly just here for utility options, and that's another hazard stacker because honestly, you can never have too many hazards. With our ninth pick, I think this is, of the draft, we picked up Tornadus, and this was really... So, I was going to pick up Aerodactyl on this turn. Bear in mind I didn't have Colossal, so I didn't have a rock type at that point. I was going to pick up Aerodactyl, and sadly that went. I didn't see it go at any point, and it got to my pick, and I was like, okay, time to pick up Aerodactyl, and it was gone. So I had to, I kind of panicked a little bit, and I looked at the flying types in tier 3, and honestly Tornadus just stood out to me. It's a really, really strong mon that I think is being overlooked quite a lot. 2 amazing abilities in Defiant and Prankster. Gives me options to like be able to set up with priority, with bulk up. I think it has Nasty Plot as well, so I got priority Nasty Plot. Either that, or I could run like a offensive Taunt or Tailwind, and be able to kind of support my team. It also gets U-Turn, which is really nice switch initiative, but it also has an amazing special attack stat, as well as a really viable attack stat as well. My team's lacking a little bit of speed underneath Zeraora, so having that base 111 speed does mean that we at least are able to outspeed base 110s. That could be a bit of a problem for our team. Also means that anything that's in like base 120s has to run a speed boosting nature to be able to outspeed us, and that's really nice for Zeraora because it means that it can run Adamant whilst the next thing has to run like a Jolly or Timid nature. But honestly, it gives me so much utility. It's also priority defog, which, like I said, to this point in my original draft, I did not have removal. Obviously, I got Colossal now, but I didn't have any removal, so having priority defog was looking really good for me. Outside of that, its coverage options are pretty solid on both the physical and special side. Honestly, I look at the special side as being slightly better just because it gets access to Hurricane, Heat Wave, Grass Knot, Focus Blast, Sludge Wave, Psychic. Certainly got more options, but a physical set, especially with Defiant, could definitely be usable. Access to Knockoff, Superpower, U-Turn, like I said, Acrobatics. Maybe I run like no item Defiant or something like that to be able to get the like boosted Acrobatics. I don't know. This one's got like tons of options. It gets Crunch and Dark Pulse as well. So yeah, it's a really, really strong mon that I think for tier 3 especially, it's going to be really handy, especially with the heavy duty boots actually this gen. Yeah, Tornadus could be a big, big problem for teams. And yeah, I'm certainly happy to have it. And I think I sniped somebody, I can't remember who it was, but I'm pretty sure I sniped somebody of Tornadus. So yeah, really happy with that. And then the biggest snipe of the entire draft, I think I saw like 3 or 4 people say they wanted this mon. And I picked it up in round 10 because I was scared it was going to go if I left it any later. That one is Clefairy. And I have a Fairy type already. However, I don't have a Steel type. So at this point I'd actually decided that I was trading things away. And I was looking at my team, I was like, well, I need a Dragon Resist. I have one currently, and that's Gardevoir. Like, my Steel type doesn't resist Dragon at all. So I needed to make sure I had a second way of dealing with dragons. So I picked up Clefairy. Because also for tier 5, this thing is a steal. It's actually really, really good. It is just Clefairy, but with an Eviolite, so it's technically bulkier unless it gets item knocked off. But it has all of the same utility outside of being unaware, effectively, as Clefable does. So you get the offensive potential. I say offensive. Okay. It's got base 60 special attack, but you could technically run a Life Orb on this thing. And with Magic Guard, you don't take the recoil. It's viable. It's not the best set. I don't know why I went to that one first, in all honesty, because the best set is going to be utility. With Aromatherapy, it is a Cleric. It also gets access to Wish, so you can Wish Pass. But look at all these moves. It's Gen 1 normal type. So it gets access to every single type. It gets dual Wing Beat in this gen as well. Like, there's so many moves it gets. Obviously its attack stat is really poor at 45, so you're not running many of these physical moves, but access to things like Baton Pass and also Teleport gives you Switch Initiative. Also access to things like Counter, which will be able to deal damage back if people hit you with a really solid physical move. Outside of that, you have got Heal Bell, you've got Healing Wish, give me a second Healing Wish user. This one's a bit slower, I probably have to take a hit, whilst Gardevoir is a more offensive one. Then you've got access to Knockoff, you've got Dual Screens. Like, this moveset is just, like, move pool is absurd. Moonlight and Soft Boiled for recovery, should you not want to run Wish. Then you've got Stealth Rock, which is always a great option. Thunder Wave, Trick, Toxic. Like, no mon wants a Eviolite. Outside of, like, Porygon 2, Chansey, things like that, nobody wants an Eviolite. So trick away my Eviolite if it's, like, if it's going down on the next turn. To be able to trick that away would be amazing, and just take an item from somebody. I mean, if you know anything about Mons, you know exactly what Clefable does. Clefairy is just like a budget version of that, and I'm actually really excited to use it because I think it could be really, really good. I've seen it being used in Draft League this gen, and it's put in a lot of work for a lot of coaches. So yeah, really happy to pick up I won't say Clefable, I'm really happy to pick up Clefable. Oh man, I won't say it again. Clefairy in this draft. And lastly, we pick up Exploud with our last pick of the draft. We had to pick up a tier 4, and honestly, I had like nothing to do. I had Urshifu to deal with ghost types, but I really wanted to have a normal type just to be able to pressure them to bring like a steel type or a ghost type that Urshifu could take advantage of. So I picked up Exploud, which is a really, really, really strong special attacking wall breaker, basically. Really good bulk as well, actually. I say bulk, it's 63 on defense, but with 104 HP, it always takes a hit unless it's super effective. With Scrappy, nobody can avoid your Boom Burst, which is going to be doing a ton of damage from Choice Specs, mainly. You could run Choice Scarf as well, but Choice Specs is mainly what you're going to see on this. Boom Burst hits for so much damage on so many things that you don't really need to run anything other than maybe Fire Blast as a coverage. Maybe Focus Blast if you want to miss. You can pretty much just get rid of, just run Boom Burst and just keep spamming it. and if your opponent doesn't have a good steel or rock type to be able to resist it, then they're just going to be losing a mon every time it comes in. And just to be able to pick that up for a tier 4, I think is amazing value. Obviously it has all this coverage as well because it's a normal type, but you're just going to be clicking Boom Burst. That's effectively all you're going to be doing with this mon. It does have other options. It is a taunt user. It has access to things I'm literally like raw, I guess. If you want to use it as a phasing option, it gets access to raw and whirlwind, so you have your choice of phasing. Toxic, if you're going to hit it, then it's fantastic. It's probably actually not a bad option on a spec set, just in case they do have like a bulky rock type, then you can go ahead and toxic it. But outside of that, like I said, you're just spamming Boom Burst. That's basically what this mon does. Whether it's choice Scarf or choice Specs tends to be like the one decision in team building. Outside of that, it does have a usable attack stat, but I guess unless you're running Double Edge, it's not really doing too much damage. You could run like a Body Slam set with EQ. You got access to like fire moves with Fire Punch. Obviously, it's going to get all the fighting type moves like Low Kick, Superpower, I expect. No, not Superpower, Low Kick, and Hammer Arm. So if you want to lower your speed, fantastic. Yeah, not much else to say about Xcloud. That is pretty much it, and this is the team. So I'll see if I'll be able to scroll and be able to see everything. Okay, so Clefairy is obviously there, and then Xcloud is below it. Due to my crop, you're not be able to see it, but yeah, this is the team I'm working with. I'm really happy with it. I think it's one of the scariest drafts in the league, and I'm not just saying that because I'm biased towards my own draft, but it's terrifying. Like these top 2 plus my Gmax being Duraludon, so much offensive pressure and really good like hazard stacking potential, and honestly amazing bulk between like Clefairy, Colossal, I guess Quillfish as well can count towards that, and Tangrowth Swampert is a really good defensive core. Like yeah, I think this team is just really fun to use, and I'm certainly looking forward to using it. And yeah, if you did enjoy the video and you're enjoying the team, you like the team, then please leave a like down below and subscribe if you want to catch the rest of the season without missing any of the battles. And until the next one, have a great day guys. Peace.